So there's this woman in post-punk from a post-punk band in the 80s, and I think that she is criminally underrated as well as her band. But I was reading an interview by her from the 80s, and it basically talks about anyone who is in production in society is exploited. And in reading this, it just reminded me of why I first fell in love with punk. And it really was this willingness to just say the thing that everybody else is ignoring, but enduring and maybe even suffering from to some extent, right? The thing to be in your face with the thing that society is trying to hide. So, I want to talk about this band. I want to talk about the front woman specifically in the band. So the band is called Au Pair, and the woman, her name is Leslie Woods. So I'm going to talk a bit about Leslie Woods, Au Pair. I'm going to talk about the things that I admire, which is really her nuance and her feminism, and then also just her political awareness that comes out in her music, which I tend to like in music. So let's talk about her feminism. So, talking about her feminism, Leslie oftentimes wrote work that challenged gender norms, but she always did so. Everything she wrote was kind of in a tongue in cheek way, which I love that. I mean, I'm wearing a Dario shirt for Christ's sake, right? But everything she did was very tongue in cheek, and she wrote about gender roles in a very tongue in cheek way. So, her most popular song, well, Au Pair's most popular song was called It's Obvious. And it's kind of a take on the idea that, like, yes, people are willing in society to be like, okay, yeah, men and women are equal, but they won't really give into actual systemic change. We'll give the lip service, but not the actual deep change. And that's what she was looking for. I was reading in an interview, in the same interview that I mentioned earlier, I think. I read a few interviews. I may not have done that one, but I was reading in an interview of her where she was saying how, like, she's not really looking for a feminism, and this was in the 80s, early 80s, where she's like not really looking for a feminism that's like girl boss feminism, came to be known as girl boss feminism. That's a very 2000s idea, right? But she was like, I'm not looking for feminism that's like, oh, I want the right to climb the ladder like a man climbs the ladder and gets exploited like a man gets exploited, or whatever, sell your soul like a man sell your soul, whatever. Like, she's like, that's not really the point. Like, I think we have to start at the bottom and figure out, like, what is this feminism? Just to clarify, I mean bottom as in the foundation, thinking about the foundation, not starting from the bottom of society. What are we looking for? What does How does equality play out? Are we trying to do exactly what men are doing? She's like, I'm not really trying to do that, which I find very fascinating. Just as a starting point, like where she's almost like we're starting at the wrong point, and I love that. I love that she was looking to start from a place of nuance and start from the foundation as opposed to just like let's just be like men. So she wrote a lot about gender roles and about sex. I mean, like I said, she was an openly queer woman, which was like badass at that time. That wasn't even in the early 80s. Like, that was not like the thing to be, the easiest thing to be, or whatever, but she was that. And so she talks about gender roles and sexuality and all that a good bit throughout her music. They only had two albums, but they talk about it a good bit. But the two songs that I would recommend are Come Again and Sex Without Stress if you're looking specifically for that topic. So yeah, that's her and feminine, just feminism, just a overview. But let's talk about Leslie and Au Pair and her more political work. Okay, so let's talk about Leslie Au Pair and politics. I think a good place to start with this is their song Armagh, which was from their first album. And it talks about the political prisoners in Ireland who were being abused in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, and who were being tortured. And so this song touches on that. It touches on that reality. And it touches on the idea that Britain tried to maintain this view of being civilized, right? And that's what they keep coming back to. Like, we're a civilized nation in the song. They want to maintain this view of like we're civilized, but also we're being so violent, we're being so exploitative. I mean, that's Britain's thing. Like, oh, we're better than everybody, we're the most human, but also we destroy humans. But we still want to be seen as the most human, right? That is, on brand for Britain and British history. But that is what the song is about. And so she calls this out. So this song was on their first album that did well enough to get them on the BBC. They got a chance to be on the BBC. But they were like, look, we love you guys. You guys are killing it. Cool. Just do us a favor. We want you to play, okay? Like, you have enough clout for that. But look, this is the thing. We want you to not sing that one song, Armagh, right? We want you to not maybe sing about how we are torturing people and stuff like that. Like don't sing about that, right? So that's what they told them, and they're like, yeah, of course not. Like, why would we sing about that? But of course, like good punks, again, they're post punk, I know that, but like good punks, they played the song. And then of course they were told by the BBC, you'll never work here again. Like literally, that's what I think it was the guitarist um was like, that's what they said, like, you'll never work here again, or you'll never work with us again, or whatever. And they're like, okay, whatever, we don't care, because they played the song on air. So I love that. I love a band that's gonna like do what they want, especially for a cause that really matters. I will say, as a caveat, I think that this just shows the power of using any platform that you're given, and the fear that creeps up when you do. Because why would you care about a little band just singing a song? Because because you know the power, and you know the power of shedding light on things. So to me, I think that could be a whole video in itself. Maybe it will be, but like, yeah, I think it shows the power of the people, which I am always all about. So in total, Au Pair made 2 albums, sadly only two, and then they went on to break up in 1983. But as you can tell from the topics that I've talked about, and even the sounds, like it's still so relevant. The sound still holds up, at least to me. I don't know. The sound still holds up today, and the topics, unfortunately, right? Don't you wish that having a nuanced view of feminism and caring about oppressed people who are fighting for their land was not a topic, right? But unfortunately, yes, they're still very relevant. They still make very relevant music, and I just wanted to highlight them because, like I said, I feel like they're criminally underrated, and Leslie is criminally underrated. So go listen to Au Pair.